So I've been doing like little bits of researches here and there, and over the years I had questions about the Bible that didn't make sense to me, and the teachings that I was taught of what the Bible says or the lessons it's trying to teach us. I don't know, they didn't seem to make sense to me. And I couldn't accept the stories as they were presented. And or I would listen to the stories and I'd be asking questions about details that were skimmed over in the storyline and didn't give any further explanation about them. For example, when you talk about the storyline with Cain and Abel, after Abel's death, and Cain had to suffer his consequences, it said that he took a wife and went to the land of Nod. And apparently, Nod is to the east of the garden. And I wondered, the land of Nod. Who is Nod? Is Nod a person? Is 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 it a mineral? Is it a fruit? You know, where is this place that it has this name? Because if it's got a name, that means it's got a purpose of some kind. So clearly, they weren't just in the Garden of Eden. There were places around the Garden of Eden that had names. And we're now just being introduced to the land of Nod. So what is Nod? What purpose does Nod serve? And Nod just always buzzing in the back of my brain. So I was listening to someone else on YouTube, and she was like, "You have any questions?" It's not that she was a professor in anything like that or a professional in the field, but I was just not asking her specifically, but just letting her know these are one of the questions I've always had type of situation. Sharing my questions with her questions, keeping the conversation going kind of thing. So she replied to me, she's like, she's researching it. She wants to see where this Nod, what is the deal with this Nod place. So I'm thinking to myself, I remember a long time ago trying to look up Nod and I didn't get any information. But technology as it is, who knows? Maybe there's more information out there now. Well, today I went ahead, I looked it up, found it on WikiLeaks, or WikiLeaks, sorry, on Wikipedia. WikiLeaks. Got, never mind. On Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia is not the all and all, but it's a start. And this is the most I've ever come across it outside and other sources. And for the most part, it talks about it's a place where people go to wander. It's like to wander. And I'm like, oh, okay, like whatever. So it's a place, Cain went to wander his last days. All right, the land of Nod is a place of wandering. What didn't quite make sense, but I kept reading a little bit, got down to the interpretation. I want to read this to you. Josephus wrote in Antiquities of the Jews that Cain continued his wickedness and Nod, resorting to violence and robbery, establishing weights and measures, transforming human culture from innocence into craftiness and deceit, establishing property lines and building a fortified city. Let that sink in. Establishing property lines and building a fortified city. And let's back up a little bit. It says, transforming human culture from innocence into craftiness and deceit. And let's go back a little bit further. Resorting to violence and robbery, establishing weights and measures. Wow. Now, let that sit there for a minute. Remember, you have Adam and Eve, and together they begat Abel and Cain, and Abel was the dude that God was all hot and bothered over with his lamb sacrifice, and Cain was jealous because God liked Abel's sacrifice better than his fruit sacrifice. So Cain whacked him, killed him, and then, suffering his consequences, was shipped off to the land of Nod, wearing the mark of, whatever. That's besides the point. So, you have 4 people that are supposed to be on the planet. One of them just got killed. So you're down to 3. But it's saying that Cain resorted to violence and robbery. So we don't hear any stories about him beating his parents and robbing them blind of everything, because he went to the land of Nod. He's not where his parents are. He's somewhere else. So who is he robbing and resorting violence on? Was he robbing the chinchillas, the kangaroos, maybe a lion or a tiger or a bear? Who was he robbing? And who was he establishing weights and measures with? Sloths? I don't know. And property lines. I don't know, last I checked with any animal, they don't respect property lines. They see land, they're going to walk it, because if it's got a nice juicy leaf, they going for it. And they're not going to hold back because there's a barbed wire fence somewhere They might get caught on it. They're definitely going to try to jump it or fly over it or do something. So, all these things that it's accusing Cain of doing, if it's just him and his wife, which religion will tell you his wife must have been his sister. Maybe it wasn't because we don't hear that Adam and Eve had any daughters. So now it's like reading that, it just raises the question even more. Okay, so if it's in the east, what's in the east of Eden? You want to know what's east of Eden? India. That's east of Eden. If you want to get technical, it's Pakistan. Well, it's Pakistan now. Persia. Well, wouldn't have been Persia back then, because that would have been pre-Noah's flood. Yeah, these are the kind of things that doesn't make sense to me about the Bible, which is why I have a very hard time believing anything out of the Bible. It's not that I distrust everything. I just have a hard time buying how it's spoon-fed to me. So that's just kind of like my thoughts on the land of Nod and Cain.